Hello, greetings. I was really debating coming on today. Kind of feels like a waste of time, but you know what? I'm taking an easy day today. Was going to go hiking, but the weather's not really ideal for that right now. So, we're going to discuss something I found interesting. And what brought me here was I was researching something regarding deception, right? I probably mentioned this before, but I'm a fan of a particular author's book who is an FBI profiler, and he specialized partially in body language and discovering deception. And I had a theory of my own, and I wanted to see if there was anything out there in the ether backing up what I was talking about. And unfortunately, no, there has been no research on the particular thing that I wanted to, look into. So maybe sometime in the future. But in search of that, hey, GLM, what's up? In search of that, I looked up Mr. Joe Navarro again and started looking through his catalog. And that is what brought us to today's topic. All right, there's a picture of his book in case you want to get it for yourself. It is on Amazon, of course, and it is also on Audible, which is the copy that I got was Audible because I tend to multitask. So I listen to podcasts and various people when they stream or whatever while I'm doing something else. I guess that helps me with whatever minor form of ADHD that I have. So, all right. So, what are you going to need for this stream? You're going to need time. So, if you're busy doing something else, you probably want to rewatch this later. where you're going to have, an hour, maybe two, because it's going to be long-winded. What else I would suggest is a pencil and paper. And what you're going to need that for is a checklist that I'm going to go through. Actually, I'm going to go through three. So this is going to be, again, long-winded because some of these categories have, upwards of like 130 different check marks. And this is also not meant to be clinical in any way. The source material, the FBI profiler, Mr. Navarro, he says as much in his book. So if you're looking for someone who's like a mental health expert, I'm not the one. Mr. Navarro is not the one. This is more for like a street smart type of thing. You could apply it to your real life, which I would suggest highly. You could even apply it to some YouTube personalities, but the ultimate goal is to get you to understand what you're dealing with and protect yourself and your family appropriately. All of my problems in life are clinical. Well, is that good or bad? That's the question. Uh, Again, good to have you here, GLM. So make sure you got that pen and paper ready if you're ready to play along. If you're, if you're in the restream, not the restream. What am I? I haven't had enough coffee. By God, probably bad. Replay was the word I was looking for. Sorry, I'm still not fully awake yet. But if you're in the replay gang, then definitely have that ready or like pause. And yeah, so instead of being clinical, by the way, we're going to cover three different personality types. And keep in mind that some people that you know may have a mixture of these. But we're going to go category by category. Instead of being clinical, he went with things like the emotionally unstable, the predator, and of course, the narcissistic personality. And these are all from his experience, investigating people who, were murderers, rapists, kidnappers, all that stuff. These are just from his personal experience. And I found it interesting because, again, I used to do some private investigation and I had to interview and talk to people as well. And it really helped to know what kind of person I was dealing with in order to help the investigation, let's just say. All right, I'm going to pull this PDF up. And I was scrolling through it. There's definitely some words that I don't exactly use every day. So if we come across that, I will use the dictionary because, it's not a word any of us uses every day, I don't think. All right, I'm going to read a little bit of the pretext here. Let me scroll up because I was looking through all these and I was just kind of getting an idea. All right. And when you start going through this checklist, definitely, have someone in mind. If you're curious about a person in your life or that you know of, maybe have that person in mind. And it's best to be honest. Be honest. Don't give them a check mark just because you don't like them. You got to be real. But I'm going to read the pretext here. And he says, excuse me, God, I can't speak this morning. Read each statement in the checklist carefully and check the statements that apply. Be honest. Think about what you have heard an individual say or seen him and her do, or what others have expressed to you. Obviously, the best evidence is what you yourself have observed and how you feel when you're around or interact with that person. Check only the statements that apply. Don't guess or include more than meet the criteria exactly. If in doubt, leave it out. Some items seem repetitive or appear to overlap. This is intentional to capture nuances of behavior based on how people typically experience or describe these personalities. It is very important that you complete the entire checklist, and this one's 130, by the way, as designed to increase its reliability. Each complete checklist covers very subtle yet significant issues that you may never have thought about. Some items may help you remember events you've forgotten. Please read each statement, even if you feel you've seen enough or that the first few items don't seem to apply. And I will also change the language just a little bit, um, but it will be accurate. Let me check the chat real quick before I begin. Uh, you're getting banned, but goodbye. All right, I had to ban some clown real quick. That's one thing I don't deal with. Don't come in here for that shit. All right, are you guys ready? And there are going to be different pauses because this is going to be tiring. I mean, this is a 130, checklist. So here we go. This is the narcissistic personality, by the way. Projects self-importance beyond position, experience, or what has been duly earned or deserves. Has grandiose idea of who he or she is and what he or she can achieve. Often talks about his or her need to lead, be in charge, to exercise power, or for achieving immediate success. Believes she or he should only associate with other special, successful, or high status people. Requires excessive admiration from others. Has a sense of entitlement, expecting to be treated as someone special or given priority at all times. Is interpersonally exploitive of others and takes advantage of others for personal gain. So far, this actually sounds very much like the Mayo Clinic posting of narcissism, but I digress. I'm gonna check the chat again real quick. I gotta monitor some of these weirdos. Let me see if that's the real person or not. If you're still in here, GLM, see if you want to get rid of that person, feel free to do so. All right, so number 8, lacks empathy and is unable to recognize the needs or suffering of others. Is often envious of others or believes others are envious of him or her. Yeah, and this is like classic. Is arrogant and haughty in behavior or attitude. Has a tendency to see his or her problems as unique or more acute than anyone else's. Has an exaggerated sense of privilege that allows him or her to bend the rules and break laws. Is excessively self-centered to the point of alienating others by being so I or me oriented. Is hypersensitive to how he or she is seen or perceived by others. Nothing groundbreaking here. Has regularly irritated or upset you, and others complain of the same. Has, okay, sorry, routinely spends an inordinate amount of time on grooming, looking good, and being pampered. Tends to overvalue his or herself and their capabilities in almost all things. Has devalued others as being inferior, incapable, or not worthy. has demonstrated little sympathy or empathy for others. Nevertheless, he or she expects others to show them empathy. Has ignored the needs of others, including biological, food, water, physical, housing, emotional, and financial needs on multiple occasions. I actually have just a pause for a second because we're only 20 deep, but I had a relative by marriage that did that to my aunt and my cousins that were produced from that marriage. So I have a no, this is not. You must be the real brutal. Eh, you're a nerd. I get back to what I was doing. Is not happy when others succeed or receive recognition. Is considered to be or acts like a bully. Talks at you rather than with you. This is gonna be a while. That's what I figured. I'm already. There's so many. Needs to be the center of attention and does things to distract others to ensure being noticed. When he or she communicates with you, it feels as if he or she is sending messages but not receiving messages. Communication is only one way. I was thinking about maybe we're only going to do two. This is kind of a drudge. Insist on having the best of everything. Again, we're not breaking new ground. This is like Mayo Clinic shit so far. You're a white troll. Well, I'm actually mixed, but cool. Thanks for letting me know. Thanks for letting me know that. I appreciate it. Very informative. Appears to have difficulty comprehending deep emotions. Seems emotionally detached at times when deeply felt emotions are most needed. Has a need to control others and demands total loyalty at all times. Behaves as though people are objects to be used, manipulated, or exploited. Repeatedly has violated boundaries of rules, privacy, secrecy, or social decorum. Only sees his or her problems and repeatedly ignores the problems or struggles others may have. Seems to lack altruistic qualities. Everything is done for selfish purpose. Rarely does anything good for the good of others. Even without any kind of demonstrated achievement, acts self important or accomplished. Has a need to habitually inflate personal accomplishments, deeds, or experiences. When others speak of accomplishments, he or she boasts of their own accomplishments or orients the conversation so that their accomplishments are also recognized. Feels entitled to any one of these: success, fame, fortune, or sex, with no legal, moral, or ethical inhibitions. At work, habitually competes with peers for attention or praise and devalues them to garner favor with those in authority. We're going to stop at 40 for a short break because, again, this is kind of a drudge. When criticized, seems insecure and tends to lash out. Has acted imperious at times, not wishing to know what others think, have planned, or are concerned about. So that's 40. We got like 90 more to go. So I'm going to check chat again. Yeah, I was liking Fairy Troll for a while. That is correct. But again, I decided that was just not worth my time. It it can be fun like trolling people, but it's not worth the time to do really when you have uh, when you just have other things to do. When you have a life, you just don't have time to troll people. Right? I mean, it can be funny. I mean, trolls are funny, but it's not something I feel like doing. You only got 37. Well, you might have missed a couple. I think you've been in and out. Um, I mean, I guess it is depressing because the nature of this stuff is people were hurt. This is how this guy collected this data. Anytime there's one of these cases, I mean, someone died, was raped, kidnapped. I mean, it's depressing. It's kind of crazy stuff, but you can't forget that there are dangerous people in the world. I mean, the world is not like as safe as we would like to believe. There are evil people out there in the world. Well, yeah, I mean, I gave you the option whether you wanted to ban him or not. I don't really care. I mean, he's not doing much. Um, all right, short break. All right, we're gonna get back into it. I'm gonna do maybe another 20 and then take a break because again, this is a slog. It's interesting. I kind of just because I've dealt with so many narcissistic people in my lifetime, like most of this is not really groundbreaking. It's kind of common sense. But because it's coming from, someone who's got a lot of credentials, it does matter. And some people might, given the amount of like narcissism videos, there's like a whole YouTube category of narcissism videos. Um, yeah, I think when we get to the emotionally unstable section, it might be a bit more interesting. I've encountered a few of those in my lifetime, unfortunately. All right. 41 has acted or believed self to be omnipotent, unwilling to realize his or her own weaknesses or frailties, is superficially charming or interesting, has presented himself as something he is not, or her imposter, such as a doctor, military officer, astronaut, Navy SEAL. I've seen, man, I gotta pause real quick because that's another one I could harp on. Since I got out of the military, I've run into more people that would claim to be like Green Berets and SEALs, and it's like, why can't you guys just admit you're a normal guy? You know, not everyone, like the Special Forces community as a whole is a very small community. Just be honest about it. All right, but that's just me harping. 44 is very interesting to be around at first, but after a while saps you of your energy. Yeah, I think we've all met energy vampires before. Has made you feel that his or her cup must always be filled as yours runs empty. That's kind of repeating the last one almost. Has devalued you or your work and made you feel worthless without any consideration for your feelings. Has shown interest in and curiosity about how others achieve success, but is unwilling to dedicate or sacrifice himself to that effort. Sorry. This is, I need to blow this PDF up so I can read it a little bit better. Is preoccupied with achieving social acclaim or political office by any means. That's another one that hits home, but we're not going to go there. Is preoccupied, no, I just said that. Has repeatedly bought expensive or valuable things for his or herself, but refuses to do the same for family members. Constantly underestimates others' ability and capacity to perform. Sees his or herself as superior in intellect, capacity, or looks compared to others. Enjoys putting others down so that he or she feels better about themselves. Has publicly belittled those who don't measure up to their expectations, including their own children. Is disinterested in knowing more about you and lacks normal curiosity in others. At times displays a certain coldness or aloofness that makes you worry about who he or she really is and or whether or not you really know them. When interacting with others, perceives benign actions such as seat adjusting, turning, checking a phone, or looking at watch as disinterest and becomes unnecessarily offended or irritated. Treats those who are deemed to be below him or her with contempt or arrogance. Only appreciates those who can do something for him or her, and has interpersonal relationships that seem always impaired or in difficulty due to his or her ego and grandiosity. So that's 60. We're not even halfway there. This is a slog. But again, important. But you get the idea too. If you've come this far and if you've checked every box at this point and you were honest, just know that this person is bad news. Oh, okay. All right, no worries. Well, to some degree, I will say that most people use the eyes. It's normal. But I think what the author's going for is excessive use of it. I think that um, it is normal because, I mean, everybody is, for the most part, their own biggest fan, right? Like, you should care about your own needs and just don't be a narcissist. There's a difference. Obviously, if you don't care about yourself, that's a bad thing. Just took a little breather. Like I said, it gets more interesting, but I think I am only going to do two just because of how long this is taking just to get through like 60 of them. Again, if don't give someone a check just because you hate them. Be fair. All right, we're gonna keep slogging, keep going. All right, 61 sees him or herself as having special knowledge or unique understanding and talks about themselves in that way. This is not to mean that like some of us here have specialties, something that we're really good at, and that's not what we're talking about. Unless, and I've known people like this, it's fake, right? Because I knew a person who believed themselves to be a legal expert. We're not going to get too far into that, but they tried to sell themselves as a legal expert, and they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground, let's be honest. But they got caught in that later. You know, the truth always comes out. That's just, to be expected. Has a personality that wears on you or you find him or her annoying. Well, I would hope that you would only be around that person if you absolutely had to. is inappropriately boastful of accomplishments. Again, there's nothing wrong with being proud of your accomplishments if you did something great, but going over the top with it, you know, that's what they're talking about. The word I dominates conversations. He or she is oblivious to how often they reference themselves, which we talked about a little bit earlier. Comes across as self righteous and above scrutiny. Right? Everybody makes mistakes. I make mistakes. You make mistakes. Let's be real here. You know, I'm a personally, I'm kind of, if I make a mistake, I'm not afraid to laugh at myself for doing it. And I think you should too. If you can't laugh at your own screw ups, then because that's life. No one's perfect. We're not robots. Perfection does not exist. Period. All right, moving right along. Has achieved much has achieved much success, but at the price of others whom he or she rarely, if ever, properly credits. You know what's funny? I mean, just in my personal experiences, anecdotal, but I haven't ran into many people who are narcissistic who are very successful. Maybe that's just me, but most of them had very limited success, but were very arrogant. But again, uh, you may know people who are actually successful. Maybe has commented that this wait, let me restart. 67 has commented. See, there I am making mistakes. All right, let's try this again. Has commented that this person or that group is inferior or is worthless. Well, we kind of see that on YouTube. Like, we know that this happens and there's animosity between groups. But remember, to point out, this book was written in 2013. This is not like a recent book. This is over a decade old. But it's still good material. There's a lot to cover. All right. 68. Favors the use of cocaine specifically to potentiate his or her grandiosity, abilities, or self worth. Now, I know that's straight from this guy's experience. Um, yeah, nasty stuff. I wouldn't want to touch that. I'm not much for drugs, anyways. I have to be clean, be able to pass background checks and maintain a security clearance. But that's me. Favors. Okay. No, we already said that. Claims to be an exceptional lover or seducer. Boasts about repeated conquests. Yeah, you see a lot of that on YouTube too. To be fair, hates to be embarrassed or fail publicly. I mean, most people hate being embarrassed. Let's be real. But again, when we talk about anything narcissistic, it's to the extreme. It's to the umpteenth degree. Doesn't ever seem to feel guilty for anything he or she has done wrong and never apologizes. Well, not talking about anyone specific, but the shoe fits for some people. And we'll again, once we get to 80, we'll take another break. I'll check the chat. Sorry if you have commented. I have not looked at the chat for a little bit. We'll get caught up here in a few. Believes he or she has the answer and solution to most problems, no matter how complex. Believes him or herself to always be right and everyone else is wrong. Sees those who disagree with him or her as enemies, and that's in quotes. Has resorted to cheating, conning, scheming, embezzling, or other white collar crimes to achieve success. is often rigid, unbending, and insensitive. Tries to control or do what others do or think. Excuse me. Tends to be possessive of loved ones or family members and interferes with their freedom. Doesn't like it when friends or outsiders visit. That is kind of like that uncle I had by marriage, but he would come to family functions. And what was funny is like he was good, like everybody liked him. So when it came out that this guy was like a mentally unstable, narcissistic freak show, everyone was shocked at first. Hope I never see that guy again because it won't go good for him. 79. Offer short term, superficial, or self serving demonstrations of empathy. We have seen this. And for 80, one senses he or she wants to destroy or spoil the fortunes of those he or she envies or is in competition with. Can definitely say I've seen that in I'm in other sectors of YouTube. Most of the ones I'm in, there's not all this drama shit, but sometimes there is competition where people see each other as, business competition, and it can get kind of nasty. I can't lie. I try to stay away from that bullshit, but I do see it. Let's check the chat. All right. Okay. Well, you are free to believe what you wish to believe. I haven't looked at his resume and not super interested in getting involved in YouTube drama beefs or anything like that. All right, so we're getting there. We're on 80. If you've mostly got checks, you check the box. I think, well, we'll go over that. I'm getting ahead of myself. Apologies. Number 81 has refused to look at or recognize a proud accomplishment of yours or fails to acknowledge pain and suffering of others. Yeah, I've known some people like that. Again, it's extreme self interest with zero care of other people. Or when they do care, in quotes, it's all pretend. And I know a few people like that. I even worked under some people like that when I was in the army, unfortunately. And that's another person that's on the list of I hope I never see them again in real life because it won't go good for them. All right. 82. Often reacts to criticism with retaliation, vilification, counterattack, rage, or callousness. Can't be bothered to work, claiming it would interfere with thinking, planning, networking, studying, or preparing. Interesting one. Sees flaws in others routinely, but none in themselves. Does not like to be critiqued, even when it is helpful. See, I'm one of those guys that I like constructive criticism. I may or may not, you know, go with what you said, but I do at least appreciate the constructive criticism. Just depends. Sometimes I'm stubborn and set in my ways, but I do appreciate it. And sometimes I do take it, and the changes I make are for the better. That's why you shouldn't get offended if someone gives you constructive criticism, as long as it's not like you fucking suck, you know. And unless they're joking with you, I've had, that's how I see him. No, see, can't speak too early. But that's how some me and my friends speak to each other. We'll tell each other like, "You fucking suck, bro. Get good." Typical shit. All right. Sees personal problems in others as signs of inferiority, weakness, or poor impulse control. Consistently brags or boasts about expensive purchases, jewelry, toys, property, etc. Right? And there's nothing wrong with having cool stuff that you worked hard for and bought. I remember I had, which it met its unfortunate demise, but I had a newer generation Camaro, and some people would act like, you know, and I never said anything. I only got it because I liked it. I've always liked sports cars. I'm not trying to impress other people, right? I get things because I like it. And I think that whole like, oh, you got a big jacked up truck, so you must have, a small peen, or you have that fast sports car, and then they eat the same thing. I think that's lame, honestly. Although sometimes the shoe does fit, but for most of us, we just like cool stuff. All right, where was I? Oh yeah, okay. 89. At work, repeatedly overstates to management his value or her value and contributions. So I gotta pause it. I gotta pause it again and run my suck for a second. What's interesting is some of the worst offenders that I've encountered that were more narcissistic don't work. Do everything in their power to get out of actually working. But I've also encountered some at work. I wonder if we'll get into it, but like I had a boss that used the divide and conquer strategy. He was definitely a narc, and I don't know if he'll talk about this, but because we still got 40 more to go through. But that was something I observed too. Divide and conquer. Get the other workers to fight with each other, so that we're not looking at what's going on up at the top. And then they would come in, and like a politician, they would come in and they would be the one that created the problem, and then they would be the one to say, "Oh, I got the solution. I'll fix this problem." But you were the one who created it, dude. You know, crazy. Very easily. Okay, sorry. I thought I skipped one. I didn't. Very easily sees weaknesses in others and is quick to exploit those weaknesses. Is in a parasitic or exploitative relationship. Boy, I know someone just like that. Expose the fuck out of them. Taking advantage of someone financially, refuses to work or contribute, although healthy and capable. So that's all the same one. That's 91. It just made me think of somebody I don't really like, but I've stopped going after them. No, it's not who you think it is. It's someone you guys wouldn't know. 92 has at least once said that from an early age felt destined for greatness. I've actually never talked to someone like that before. That must be interesting. Seems to be highly dependent on tribute and or adoration, and will often fish for compliments. Hmm. I don't know if that's necessarily something I've experienced or seen. I mean, I've seen fishing for compliments, but I don't know that it's like a personality like extreme when that person. 94 is not a very good listener, or only listens when there is a compliment in it for him or her. Demands that others make changes to suit his or her needs at their expense or inconvenience. Yes, yes, much yes. 96 is cunning and manipulative, seeking always to have the greatest advantage. 97 doesn't seem to reciprocate in kind with attention, gratitude, or kindness to others. Uses insults to establish superiority, dominance, or control. Has made bogus claims about education and or degrees, for example, claiming to have a PhD. Yeah, definitely know someone. Definitely know someone that does that. Maintains appearance of extravagant lifestyle despite being financially frail or having filed for bankruptcy. Definitely. Yeah, and when I'm going through this, guys, I'm thinking of someone, but none of you in this sphere would know this person, but Cassandra would. Cassandra knows who I'm thinking about. I'm going to check the chat because we're on 100. All right, nothing new in the chat. So we just got 30 more through this. I think, again, the emotionally unstable is going to be a bit more interesting, and depends on how I'm feeling because we're almost an hour in, but I might do the predator, also known as a psychopath or sociopath. Um, we'll just see how I'm feeling because I don't like to stream. About the 2 hour mark is where I'm just like, bro, I'm done. I have done streams that are much longer than 2 hours, but my brain just starts to shut off. And thankfully, the people I had, co-hosting or on the panel just carried it because I'd start getting tired. All right, so at the home stretch for this one, 101 repeatedly fails to see or view things from others' perspective, lacks empathetic understanding of others and their needs or desires. Likes to be around notable people to bask in their glory or likes to name drop. So, yeah, I have seen that one because this is a common play for these types of people. They're parasites. What what is usually the case is they are parasites. And so they try to find somebody that has actually, we use this term clout, but they try to find someone who has clout and they infiltrate. And again, I'm not even talking about anyone from this sphere, but I have a specific person in mind, and that's exactly what this person did. Is they found a person who had clout in that sphere. They used them until they were used up, and once they thought they had a better deal, they wanted to jump ship to someone who they felt like had more clout. But see, that's one thing. But the problem was this guy, he couldn't just leave, right? He had to blow the place up. The previous place he was just at, he had to blow that up before he left. So he caused a great deal of turmoil and drama before leaving. But yeah, that's the kind of people we're dealing with. So these people, the narcissistic people, aren't as dangerous as like the emotional unstable and the predators. The predators, of course, are the most dangerous that you'll encounter out in real life, and most people can see them for what they are because they're like this crocodile that I got on the screen right now. They just kind of make your hair stand up. Stuff that they do doesn't make sense. I've only encountered a few of those, and I'm pretty confident in myself. in a lot of ways, but that still doesn't stop you from being uneasy around these people. All right. Well, since we're at the home stretch, let's try to get this done. Thinks that not everyone is worthy to be around him or her. Just arrogance, typical arrogance. Has a shallow emotional life and detests when others come to him or her with their trivial emotional problems. Can be shy and solitary, but nevertheless is arrogant towards others and believes in his or her own superiority or uniqueness. I need more coffee. Ain't gonna lie. Has lied about the past, about accomplishments, or to conceal legal or ethical transgressions, including failure to act or notify. My God, that one hits so home with this person. When I got into that investigation, it's like this guy, the reason he did what he did was he was running from legal obligations that he had. And he figured if he escaped to the other side of the country, he'd figure out what to do. Run away now and figure out what to do later. And yeah, yeah, the guy's just a real piece of shit. It's a real piece of shit. Just it just makes me angry. I don't like people like that who victimize people. Number 107 becomes indignant when others fail to show absolute loyalty. That guy was like that too. Um, so yeah, my loyalty, as long as you're a good person, um, you'll have my loyalty. But if you're, if I find out that that's not who you are, that you're a fake, well, what? How am I supposed to be loyal to you? Like you weren't who you sold yourself to be, and that's exactly what happened. Because with this person, like we were cool, and I was helping them out with some things, providing them with some intel and things like that. They turned out to be a complete shitbag, and then they wanted to get mad and indignant because I turned against them, but that's just how it goes. You were nowhere near who you sold yourself to be, so why be surprised? When you're a fraud. Like I don't, that's only something that a person with this kind of mindset could, get indignant about. But I digress. Let's get to it. Has intentionally kept you or others waiting, or has extended meetings or conversations, inconveniencing others. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Uh, Intentionally did stuff to, like everyone was on their time, and come to find out the guy didn't really have anything important to do other than sit on his ass and play video games. So, right. Is never appreciative or satisfied with compensation or perks at work, even though they are generous. Yep, no pleasing those people. Doesn't hesitate to burden others with the trivial, excuse me, even when others are occupied or attending to more important things. So your time is not important to them, but when they need something, damn it, you better be on top of it. That hits home too. Frantically tries to maintain a youthful body or appearance by overdoing workouts, physical exploits, cosmetics, or surgery. Now, see, this must be more real life stuff because pretty much all the narcs I've encountered on the YouTube side are obese. Just being honest. Um, I did encounter some narcs who were in really good shape in real life, but that's neither here nor there. Most of this, actually, what I'm talking about is real life, but if you can apply it to people on the YouTubes, then it applies. If the shoe fits, wear it. If you think I'm talking about you, I'm not directly talking about you, but if these bullet points apply to you, is what it is. Be better. All right. Seems to be proving his or herself and affirming sexuality by having repeated extramarital affairs. Now, one of the guys from the army was doing that, and one of the buddies from my team, he exposed that motherfucker. He sent the evidence to that guy's wife, and rightly so. Rightly so. All right, lost my place. Okay, there we go. 113. Most of his or her enjoyment seems to be from the tributes received from others. Not much to say on that one. Has taken pleasure in duping others, including parents, friends, and associates. Yeah, there's the thing that got me started on this is related to that. What started the research and what brought me to like this book and all this fun stuff. It is definitely in relation to that. Rather than feeling happy for other success, is jealous or petty and begrudges their success. I've seen that before. Has quit a relationship or friendship once it no longer benefited him or her socially or financially. Yep. And that's exactly what this guy did. I described exactly that. He thought he was too good he thought he had to move up, and the way to move up was to throw his former friend under the bus. But truth was, he never considered that guy a friend. He was just a stepping stone. Has actively looked for a trophy wife or partner to help with career or political ambitions. So that is another thing I wanted to talk about. Some of this stuff, these check marks, definitely would apply to politicians or people who have tried to get office. So it hits home. Tact Tactically, that's a word I like. Tactically plans or day or events so as to garner attention and praise. I like the word tactical, but can't say I've seen anyone do that one. 119 is unable to identify the needs, wants, desires, and feelings of those closest to him or her. 120 is impatient with others. And it's not like, I don't think he's talking about like sometimes you have a bad day. You just had a shitty day and maybe you're a little bit more testy. It's like all the time with these types of people. All right, 121 incessantly talks about himself or herself or their aspirations. Tends to discuss personal issues or concerns in appropriate or expansive detail, oblivious to time constraints or the sensitivity of others. Often says things that are hurtful to others, yet shows no remorse. One of these words usually applies to him or her. snobbish, disdainful, arrogant, patronizing, and that's it. Has criticized those who follow rules or who patiently wait in line. Appears to be especially lacking in sadness and mournful longing. I don't know. I mean, the little secret to narcissistic people that I've found, like, not everyone's got a pinch of narcissism. Like, when I say this, I'm talking about people that are getting towards like the disorder side of things, the personality disorder type of things. Um, they're secretly they're pretty sad and self-loathing, but when you talk to them, they present something totally different. Just saying. Is 127 is only concerned with getting caught or being shamed in public, not with being ethical. Hmm. 128. Even after many years, you feel like you don't really know this person. Yeah, can relate. Has used family or friends to lie on his or her behalf. Finally, the last one, finally, is unwilling to acknowledge mistakes, wrongdoings, bad ideas, or perilous actions. All right, for scoring, we'll just skip that one and we'll just get to the point here. If you find that this individual has 15 to 25 of these features, this is a person who will occasionally take an emotional toll on others and may be difficult to live or work with. If the score is 26 to 65, this indicates that the individual has all the features of and behaves as a narcissistic personality. This person needs help and will cause turmoil in the life of anyone close to him or her. And lastly, if the score is above 65, this person has a preponderance of the major features of a narcissistic personality and is an emotional, psychological, financial, or physical danger to you or others. And again, I have that relative that, former relative by marriage, found out he was physically abusive to my aunt. And that really pissed off the family. I mean, he basically, once all this came to light, this mofo went ghost. And that was probably a really good idea because of the physical abuse he did to my aunt and my cousins. I mean, some of the shit I heard he was doing was fucked up. All right, I'm gonna check the chat. Uh, if you missed stuff, just go back and listen later, and try to like I entered my own commentary, so you might not. Some of the ticks, the checks might seem like they blended together. So yeah. All right, so we're an hour in, and there are two more personality categories I wanted to cover, and I'm not sure. I may just do one more and leave it at that. Maybe I'll do a whole nother one on, like maybe I'll do a part two and cover the predator, the most dangerous one. I've been fortunate not to encounter too many of these in my lifetime. Definitely encountered narcissists and mentally unstable people, though, for sure, or emotionally unstable. Some of the predators, though, like some of the cases I was investigating, had to do with drugs and talking to people that say they weren't dealing in drugs or anything anymore. Of course, they all say that they say they found God and they're clean now, and it's always the same story. But when you're sitting with them, asking them questions, and reading their body language, you know what they are. Right? If you've been in the industry at all, you know what they are. They think that they're tricking you. Right? That's the arrogance of these people. They think they're clever. They're more clever than you are, and they're tricking you. Not the case. No good investigator is going to get tricked by that. What probably would have been helpful is dropping the link in places instead of just going live. Oh well. I think it's better that I don't really have an audience. I tend to get distracted, so not having people in the chat too much will keep me on track. Really, this isn't like a social event so much as sort of like a teaching and learning event. So I'm just kind of deciding whether I want to do one or the other at this point. Okay, sorry. There's a little bit of dead air. Apologies. I'm reading something from this because that seems to be a repeat of the same thing I previously read, and then it goes right to the checklist. All right. I think that's what we'll do. If there's interest, I'll go into the third one that I wanted to cover on another stream when I have the time to do it. If there's interest, if I get comments saying, "Hey, do that next one." If not, I just might say, "Fuck it." I don't, I don't really want to spend a whole boatload of time on the tubes, especially when I'm a part of three different, well, actually more than three, but different communities when it comes to the tubes. Three primary. Okay, so this is the emotionally unstable personality, and we're just gonna get to the point. We're gonna cut through as many of these, and then maybe we'll talk. Okay, this has at least less than the first one, but I will try to like pause in between each number so that you can take a second to think about it. And when you're watching the replay, feel free to pause. That's what I would do. Listen to what I said, pause, think about it, put the check, yes or no, whatever. However, you're keeping score. Not one to tell you guys how to keep score. But I digress. Let us begin. Number one, you are constantly on the defensive around this person. Displays of intense anger and outbursts are disproportionate to the circumstances or events. Since knowing or entering into a relationship with this person, you have become less happy, less confident, or less sure of yourself. Relationships are a roller coaster of highs and lows. And again, extremes, because like relationships aren't perfect. So think of it in like extreme highs and lows instead of just like we had an argument or whatever. Continuing, the person is unstable or unable is unable to appreciate the consequences of his or her statements or behavior and how it may affect others, including family members or society. Behaves in ways that at times are inappropriate or outrageous. Seems to fall apart under stress with some frequency. So, again, everyone has trouble sometimes when they're highly stressed, but what he's saying is this happens often with this person. Arguments that should last a few minutes go on for hours or days with no effort to, ooh, here's a big word, ameliorate, or in them. Hang on. I must consult the dictionary.
Ameliorate.
Ameliorate. Okay, interesting. This guy has a high vocabulary, ain't gonna lie. Impressive. Because that's not a word I've encountered. Seems to play a role of victim or princess with regularity. Hates being alone and constantly seeks companionship. Has threatened to unalive. Frequently displays or expresses feelings of panic, anxiety, irritability, sadness, or anger. Again, emphasis on the frequently. I mean, again, everybody has hard days. Everybody has tough times. But if it's an everyday thing with this person, there might be something there. Often feels or has expressed feeling emptiness. Gets bored very easily, needs excitement. I can definitely relate to a person that I know talking about how they feel empty. And that person definitely, I would say, has BPD, but we're not being clinical here. Intense anger has been observed towards family members. And I don't think, like, again, if you get, everyone gets angry at their family members a little bit. But I think we're talking like extreme anger that's uncalled for. And not just, I've been angry at my family members, but not that angry. Like, it's a little annoyed. 15. There are recurrent instances of fighting, arguing, or physical confrontations with others. So, one of those types of people, I knew this guy I went to high school with who, like, just loved to fight. That's like all he wanted to do was fight. Crazy. 16. Verbal altercations seem to be a way of life for him or her. You can't seem to relax, chill out, or stand down around this person. This person has mentioned multiple times that someone or some group has it in for him or her and is conspiring against them. Fellow workers describe him or her as trouble, difficult to work with, irritating, or impossible. Probably emphasis on the impossible, extreme. When you are around him or her, you feel emotionally You feel emotionally and even physically drained. Energy vampire. After spending a few hours with him or her, you feel as if your world has been turned upside down. You may ask yourself, what just happened? Those who are closest, family, children, spouses, etc., routinely have to check to see what is the current mood. So yeah, that's definitely, if you have to worry about that, that person's definitely emotionally unstable. Frantically works at avoiding real or imagined abandonment by lovers or friends. Yep, seeing that. BPD person. At times, this person's behavior seems theatrical or overdramatic for the circumstances. Arguments are bitter and ugly, full of invective and cursing. All right, once we get to 30, I'm going to check chat, guys. See if there's anything going on. Is excessively demanding of others as it relates to favors, time, attention, or money. Has thrown, torn, or broken objects out of anger or disapproval. Has threatened to unalive in order to avoid abandonment rather than make amends or to bring closure, likes to wallow in argument, prolonged, acrimonious discourse. And that's another one of those words. One of those words that I don't ever see used.
Acrimonious.
Which is just angry and bitter. Interesting. All right. 30 is described by others as unpredictable, unreliable, or unstable. Check chat. Chat check. All right. Oops. I am going to share this because give me just a second and I'll get back. All right. Breakover. 31. Attachments are often made too quick and too intensely with someone new. Boy, yeah. I have had bad experience with that when I was younger and regret it. Likes to get tattoos in order to feel something. Is known to seek or harbor grievances for a very long time. Easily denigrates or criticizes others, causing humiliation or embarrassment. Claims to forgive, but never does. Wrongs or injustices are remembered specifically for use in future arguments. Has a short fuse and frustration level is very low. Seems incapable of consistent empathy, caring, or love. It is not uncommon to hear people say, don't get upset, but when starting a conversation with this person. There are indications that relationships are always stormy. That's like, I'm going to pause just for a second to comment on that. What's funny about those is like when you see people like on social media, like if you're friends with both of them on that social media and they put these posts about how in love they are and all this stuff, you just know it's probably that. It's probably very stormy, and then you find out later that shit's crazy. Seen it, witnessed it, been there, never done it because I get away from crazy people. Learn the lesson the hard way once, and I'll never do it again. Marriage has been bitter and full of acrimony. That that word again. He likes that word. Seems to always be attracted to the wrong kind of person, i.e., criminals, drug users, thrill seekers, or irresponsible individuals. Definitely seen that. Definitely seen that. Doesn't seem to care if others are offended by his or her behavior. That's, I think there's a certain context to that. Like, if you don't care if friends or family are hurt, and it depends on how hurt. If it's something not a big deal, poking fun at somebody or something, that's different than being very hurtful. But I mean, there is sort of like the what do they call it? The gift of not giving a fuck or something to that degree. Not happy being his or herself, wants to be someone else. Takes part in risky behavior or thrill seeking behavior that is criminal or puts others at risk. Is very sensitive to what others say or think about him or her, tends to lash out when criticized. Changes in plans are very upsetting and cause anxiety or irritability. Not necessarily mentally unstable, definitely can be for that one, but I've known people that have like ADHD and autism that like a break in the routine kind of fucks with them. Like they do get irritable when the routine is messed up and they're not like bad or what I would call mentally or emotionally unstable. Just there's a bit of nuance to a lot of this stuff. All right, when we get to 60, we'll take another break and I'll check the chat. Okay, I've got to find my place. All right. Known to have self inflicted injury by cutting, scratching, biting, piercing, burning, or pulling out his or her own hair. Yeah. Uh, I've seen where's a gal that I was kind of somewhat seeing who ended up cutting like most of her hair off. She had just nice long blonde hair, and then she like chopped it all off, and I was like, bro, what? Yeah. So that was when I stopped seeing that person. If ignored or not treated as special, gets upset or indignant. Acts as though he or she wants to be the center of attention, doesn't want to feel left out. I think a lot of people don't want to feel left out, but like the excessive trying to be the center of attention is what he's calling attention to. Does not hesitate to lie or fabricate if it favors him or her. Yes, my God, I've seen that. In spades. You have felt reluctant to speak or take action out of fear of this person's reaction towards you or that they may harm themselves. Known to orchestrate sympathy to get attention. His or her suffering, illness, or injuries are always worse than everyone else's. Places difficult demands on the time and attention of others. Uses nurturing of others as a tool to garner attention and devotion from them. Has adopted children for the specific purpose of ensuring being taken care of when old. Now, that's one you probably should read the book uh, where he covers one of the cases he investigated that is related to that. So, if you're just now tuning in, all of this stuff is from this FBI investigator, special agent, his experience with cases and his observations and personality types. So bear that in mind. All right. Does not understand or practice altruistic love. With these types of people, they have noticed they have an element of the narcissistic personality, but for different reasons than the narc. But that's just my anecdotal experience. You feel trapped by this person in some way. It seems that this person's emotions are always so intense. Is known to have unstable and intense interpersonal relationships. And that's 60, so I'm going to take a quick break and look at the chat and see what's going on. Yeah, I knew this was like when I came up with this idea that it was going to be a bit of a slog getting through the bullet points instead of just talking off the cuff, but it is important to good morning, not your business. It is important to cover this and go through the checklist and see how many checks you can get for the person that you're thinking about in your mind. And again, his goal is to, you know, because he's seen bad things happen to people, if the people you encounter score high on these checklists, you need to get away from them. Just, if you can, possibly go no contact. It's not groundbreaking in any capacity, as I've mentioned previously, but I think that not everybody thinks about these things. Most people are so busy with their lives that they don't really, or they find themselves, as he mentioned earlier, they kind of feel like they're trapped. But if you feel like you're trapped, you need to get away from that person for your own good, especially if you have, children and whatnot. And we're talking about physically, like this person in the real. We're not necessarily talking about YouTube. It may apply to YouTube, but we're talking about the real shit here. So as I'm going through this, I'm thinking about people I've known in real life. and one I knew on YouTube that I can say check some of these boxes, and the narcissistic one, and even maybe some of the emotionally unstable one that we're covering currently. But break over. Let's get to it. Has complained of feeling inferior repeatedly. Everything that this person does for others seems to come at a price or with strings attached. Has been depressed or anxious for a long time, episodically. Emphasis on that it happens a lot over a long time. Ooh, this one. Changes loyalties quickly, leaving you or friends frustrated and bewildered. Seems to be very insecure and vigorously attempts to overcompensate. Has admitted to experimenting with or using all kinds of drugs in both quantity and variety. So we're not talking about, you smoking a blunt or something like that. Like, I kind of see that as sort of the drug of peace. It's not something I like to do. It's not something that I do because I have to be able to pass drug tests and stuff like that. So I stay away from drugs personally, not my thing, but I don't have a problem with marijuana personally. All right, 67. Has reported being emotionally out of control but can't explain why. Has threatened to hurt him or herself or unalive merely to manipulate others. Associating with this person lowers your self esteem. Fears anyone getting too close or keeps people from getting too close. Has complained of a persistent, vague illness or condition that affects his or her moods or energy levels. So that's like the Munchausen type of stuff. Not Munchausen by proxy, but actual like Munchausen. Seen it in real life, but it was more of like an acquaintance, friend of a friend type of deal. But I have seen it and heard about it. I've also seen Munchausen by proxy, where one of my friends, his ex-wife, would use their kid as a way to basically hurt him, um, and was using Munchausen by proxy on their kid to cause him like financial hardship. But again, that's anecdotal. All right, 72. Has relationships that are intense but short lived. Self image is seemingly unstable, so that's back to doesn't like who they are. Has an overwhelming need to be loved, adored, and cared for exclusively. Again, for a different reason than the narcissist would. Claims to suffer from migraines, fibromyalgia, ulcers, colitis, irritable bowel syndrome, or frequent headaches. And I'll add a caveat to this in my personal opinion. If you get the idea that it's fake, like I do know people who suffer from all of these all of these conditions, not at the same time, but some of them have several at the same time. And I don't think that it means that they're emotionally unstable. But if if it gets back to like the Munchausen thing I was just discussing, then it would be relevant. So keep that in mind before you check the box. 76. Grown children refuse to have anything to do with this person. 77. It's very resourceful at blaming others when things go wrong. Turns any criticism into counter criticism, even if it is illogical or false. This person is in a constant power struggle with you or others. Is stubborn and argumentative, seems to always want the last word. I'm going to withhold my comment on that one. But we have reached 80, so I'm going to take a short break, check chat, see what's going on. All right. Nothing new in chat. Okay. Oh, okay. Give me a second. Let me check my microphone settings. Okay. You know what that is? I know what that is. I fucking hate Windows 10. Yep. That's what I thought. How is this? Should be a drastic improvement. Yeah, so what Windows 10 does is I keep my settings on a specific setting, but Windows 10 likes to be stupid and changes it for no fucking reason. So I've been streaming for an hour and a half with my microphone like shitty. Great. Fun. It's all good. Shit happens. I should have, and that's on me. I should have checked that. Uh, so that was my mistake. I should have checked it, and I usually do before I stream, but it's been a long while since I've done any kind of like videos or streaming or anything like that. No, it's all good. And I know that there's a bunch of people who don't care for each other that come here, and I would ask that if you don't like people who come here, block them. You're free to do so. I try not to ban people unless they're being very annoying and or disruptive. You know, I'm not homies with everybody who comes here. I mean, I'm just gonna be real. You know, I'm not homies with everybody who comes here. But I try to be as free speech as possible. I try. Not perfect. All right, so we had made it to 80, so we're more than halfway there. This one's like 125 checks, and again, if you missed a lot, go back and replay, and have a pencil and paper, and check the boxes, and don't and again be careful because some of them might seem like they're melding together because I throw my own opinions out there or say add extra stuff to it. But all right. 81. Now that you guys can hear me. Often exhibits poor planning. fails, for example, to bring food or water, or even money to take care of children, as if priorities are a last thought. Fluctuates between extremes of idealization, loving, and devaluation, hating of others. So definitely BPD right there. Experienced that, unfortunately. It sucks. And I don't associate with that person anymore, thankfully. Seems to live for the moment. There is little planning for the future, financially or with regard to work. Doesn't seem to learn from previous relationships or from life experiences. That one aggravates me. I personal pet peeve, but maybe I'm just kind of personally OCD about a few things, but that just really flies all over me when I see people not learn from the past. When not fulfilled, becomes severely disappointed and devalues others. Is impulsive as it relates to one or more areas, such as promiscuous sex. Sorry, I got distracted. Unrestrained spending, substance abuse, reckless driving, binge eating, gambling, excessive drinking, or risk taking. Even after a short meeting, this person causes you or others to feel anxious, troubled, angry, or infuriated. He is constantly looking for excuses or cabals within organizations that are out to get him or her or keep him or her from being promoted or recognized. So there's always an enemy out there. They're trying to hold me down. Intentionally seeks a relationship with someone who is married or already in a relationship. Seeing that one. Dates have complained about feeling odd or that something is wrong or weird even after a short date. Yep. Go with your gut. Your gut will not, in most cases, your gut will not lead you astray. Psycho or nuts is a term you or others have used to describe this individual. Seems capricious and temperamental without cause. Has turned against loved ones dramatically without reasonable cause. Yep. I mean, all this, there's a certain person that I know that most of these check the boxes. If in therapy, has turned against the therapist despite having previously praised the therapist. Likes the fast, unencumbered life or engages in irresponsible behavior. Has failed to comply with obligations such as getting heating oil, paying bills, or paying taxes despite having money. His or her own children seem to be an inconvenience to him or her rather than a joy. I have seen that, but more so in the dark than the emotionally unstable. But one of my buddies at one of my jobs, he had a wife, and usually in any divorce proceeding, the uh, the woman's going to get the kid unless there is a hardcore reason to not give the woman the kids. Like, you have evidence that she you know, was doing hardcore drugs and was strung out, passed out in the yard, or while the kids are all, not being fed and stuff. Like you have to like bring the hammer down with evidence, and it's very hard if you're the male to get the children. However, in this case, the guy's wife just gave him up because she didn't bond with them, and they had 4 kids, all pretty close in age. But she was just like, "Nah, I don't want to." She just gave him up because she said she didn't bond with them, which is really fucked up, in my opinion. But hey, they went to the better parent that time, so it is what it is. All right. Uses humiliation as a form of punishment. 100. Has neglected children to hang out with friends, party, or go drinking. So we've seen that in the news. Sounds kind of similar to the Casey Anthony ordeal, which to this day is just fucked up. I can't. I mean, I don't know. That one bothers me. All right, gonna check the chat. Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you're a dude and you're going to family court, you are a second class citizen, essentially. It does have to be very serious. And it's the only way you're ever going to get the kids. And sometimes, even then, the kids still go to the mother. Seen it, unfortunately. That's why I didn't. When I worked, in the legal system, I never wanted to work family law. I actually always wanted to work criminal, which is a tough gig to get into because everyone wants to do that. But yeah, we are almost there. We're at the home stretch, everybody. Because this one's only got 125 check marks. And once we get through this, we'll chit chat a little bit, and I'm going to call it because we're already heading for the 2 hour mark, and that's usually about where I start getting really tired. And plus, this is long winded, kind of dry, and kind of a drudge, but it's important stuff too. All right, 101. Has a history of attracting too many men and often the wrong kind of men. No comment. Maybe later. Children complain about being ignored, ridiculed, or even abused by him or her at home. Seems emotionally distant even when trying to be close. Has repeatedly accused you of being the cause of his or her problems or unhappiness. Feels secure and happy with an entourage or group, doesn't like to be alone. There seems to always be tension. Almost everything is taken negatively in his or her life. Seems temperamentally sensitive. Has placed demands on you to take sides against someone else. Seems impervious to acts of kindness or generosity, even from people who care or who have tried to help. Well, that is an interesting one, but I see where you're going. If you've lived a hard life, you sort of take the acts of kindness of others as like a attempt at manipulation. So that one is like if it's coming from like friends or family, like real close friends, right? Who by all means should be it should be expected that these people care. Yeah, but I always, like that I accept with gratitude, close friends and family. But personally, if it's, I find it hard to believe, even if that person is being genuine, it's hard for me to accept it personally. But I'm always on the lookout for people trying to manipulate because it happens so much out in society. Anyways, 110. Seems hyper alert to signs of abandonment or of losing someone. Has reported anxiety or depression at various times in the past. Ooh, fun. Has repeatedly stalked someone or has repeatedly harassed someone from his or her past. Refuses to let scabs on the skin heal, picks at them even in public. Pricks skin with sharp objects when stressed. Never seen that one, but there was a phenomenon back towards the probably around the time that this book was written, since this book was written again in 2013. And the 2010s were like, they call it cutting. A lot of the emo people like to do that. So it probably started before the 2010s, but you know, that's neither here nor there. So 114 is seemingly unable to control outbursts of anger or animosity. Has been diagnosed with as anorexic or suffering from bulimia nervosa. No, I don't see that very commonly. It's kind of rare these days. 116. Two or more non clinical terms such as horrible, bitchy, psycho, impossible, nut job, crazy, or wacko have been used to describe this person. 117. Has joined a cult or claims to have a guru, master, or coach, which he or she follows without question. That sounds like some like hipster crap from they would happen in California. Those of you who know me, I don't have much love for California. Now, I don't hate everybody there or anything like that, but just California used to be the bastion of conservatism. It used to be like, and it has amazing like nature and beauty and stuff like that. But I haven't met too many people from California that I've liked. Admittedly, I mean there are a few that I have. I even have relatives uh, that are still there on the Hispanic side of my family. But I digress. 118. You feel you have to walk on eggshells around this person. He is known to be afflicted with a personality disorder such as, but not limited to, histrionic personality disorder, BPD, or paranoid personality disorder, which kind of referencing the clinical side of things. But if you know that they have a diagnosis, something to watch out for. Has physically hit a spouse or lover on more than one occasion when angry. Has been diagnosed as being bipolar, manic depressive, or having severe mood swings. Has talked about or has actually physically retaliated against someone, let air out of tires, scratched the car door with keys, and hate mail / tires. so forth. Has gone to great effort or expense or traveled great distances to follow, observe, or harass someone, and not being a PI or law enforcement investigator. I should add that caveat. At work, has displayed intense anger toward fellow workers. And finally, has vandalized or destroyed property of a former coworker, friend, roommate, lover, or family member. All right, on to the scoring real quick. And then we'll shoot the shit for a few, and then I'm going to call it. Maybe we'll do a part 2 at another day. If you find that this individual has 15 to 35 of these features, this is a person who occasionally will take an emotional toll on others and may be difficult to live with or work with. If the score is 36 to 65, this indicates that the individual has all the features of and behaves as an emotionally unstable personality. This person needs help and will cause turmoil in the life of anyone close to him or her. If the score is above 65, this person has a preponderance of major features of an emotionally unstable personality and is an emotional, psychological, financial, or physical danger to himself or herself or to others. All right, so that's enough with that. I'm just gonna shoot the shit for a few more minutes. Yeah. So I was thinking about people that I know, and mostly in my real life as I was going through this, and bearing in mind this is a spectrum. So these types of people can go from just being annoying to being physical dangers, and you have to kind of gauge where they rank. Some people you can't avoid. You're related to them, or you have to work with them, or anything like that. And it's good to sort of, if you have to be around them to kind of keep your distance, I would recommend. But yeah, I mean, it definitely brings back, just going through these 2 lists, brings back memories of like personal experiences I've had, that I've previously talked about here. And, I just try to avoid these types of people. They will, and it's not hate for them or anything like that. If like disorders are disorders, right? It's just safer if you avoid these types of people. There was one person in specific who, like I said, I'm not clinical. I can't diagnose the person, but I'm pretty sure they had BPD and they checked a lot of the boxes. And I was always kind and nice to them. Yeah, you have to guard yourself. I was always kind and nice to them, but again, that was never enough. It was always, bullshit. And eventually, I just couldn't deal with that shit no more. Had to cut them loose. And the best part is, um, it was more so their idea. They got mad at me over something extremely stupid. Their instability just got to the point where I didn't agree with them on something, and so therefore I was evil. Right? And they were like, "Don't ever talk to me again." And I'm like, well, it's too easy. Right? You can try and be kind, but it will never be enough. Um, yeah. So as you said, it's important to protect yourselves. It's important to identify this in other people that you encounter out there in the world. Whether, in real life more so than, and people make a big deal out of shit on YouTube. And definitely there are people getting, victimized in a way on YouTube. I'm not blind to this shit. I see some of the shit that's going on. No doubt. But yeah, that's why I don't really involve myself in the bullshit. It's not going to do anything for me. So if I talk to you online, then we good. That's, I don't have an issue. If I don't, well, you know, it's because I probably there you'll be a problem to me. So I actively avoid you. And I don't need any more stress. I got enough stress in my real life. Yeah. I mean, it's sad, but I mean, it kind of feels bad because a lot of times, like with the person I had in mind, they didn't have anyone, really hardly anyone else to speak to. Um, so I felt bad about it. And because most people were not kind to this person, I was kind to this person for that very reason, you know. But you can only put up with that so much. Right? I mean, I'm not going to have someone who I was always kind to and always there for say the things that they said to me. Not going to do it. I have to respect, and I had to respect enough self respect for myself to not sit there and put up with this shit. When it comes to the emotionally unstable, but when it comes to the narcs, like, yeah, sometimes I like to destroy them, honestly. They deserve it. And I did destroy one such narc. Not so, again, not someone any of you guys would know, but like person leaves a path of destruction everywhere they go, and they can kind of maintain themselves for about 2 years. So they'll get in with somebody, and they'll maintain for about 2 years. It is strange how many times this person has done this to various different people, and that's the exact timeline. About 2 years, and they cut sling, they destroy, they blow the place up. It's crazy. They cause a lot of pain in their wake. And this person also really damaged their own children, as was one of the things we were discussing earlier. I'll tell you one thing about this person. All right, this person very recently, like a year ago, found a way to tell their own children that they passed away of um, the coof. So their own children thinks that they died of the coof. Now these are adults. They're all adults, but because he doesn't want anything to do with his own children, he found a way to make it seem like someone else that wasn't him said, "Hey, your father passed of the coof." Crazy, fucking crazy. Yeah. So you guys don't know this person. You don't want to know this person. All this person does is draw people in, make them think stuff, lie about themselves, and then hurts those people. Yeah, it's fucking evil. It's one of the things about them that I haven't revealed, but I have no intention unless that person comes back. They were driven off as they deserve. Yep. So if you guys want a part two where I go into the predator, which sort of code for psychopaths and sociopaths, I will do a part two if it's asked for. And again, I saw. Well, I'll discuss that offline. Never mind. I'll stop myself from saying that. Um, but yeah, again, I try to maintain a free seat. Free. What I think of that. I try to maintain a free speech platform, and you can tell how rusty I am from streaming because I'm usually a lot better at this. But yeah, the psychopath, the predator, is very interesting, and I personally don't have very much experience with it, but that is one of the reasons I have a crocodile here because that is the kind of way they look at you. Like the eyes, you know how they say the eyes are like the windows to the soul. You can kind of tell whether a person is mentally disturbed from their eyes. I think it's a dead giveaway. The way they look at you, and even narcs kind of look at you in this way too. Your meal ticket, right? So you ever, those of you who are in Florida, when you go by bodies of water, if you look down, you see gators in there. You know, them gators are looking at you like, sure hope that creature makes a mistake and falls in the water. You know, that's kind of how the predators and the narcs are. Yes. Uh, and they seek out they do seek out the empaths because the empaths are suckers for their sob stories. They almost always come with a sob story um, that they throw out there. You know, most of the time it's bullshit, but they've learned that it works, that it garners sympathy and empathy from the empath, so they use it. But all right, um, we're past the 2 hour mark. If you guys missed a lot of this, I know that some people kind of came in, peeked their head in, and then left. Come back and watch it and play the game. You know, get you a piece of paper and a pencil and just mark how many and come with like maybe a person in mind if you don't know. And yeah, if you don't mind, uh, I will have some I will have some talks with some people on another platform and so they understand what's going on here. But yeah, I would also again recommend this book uh, to anybody if you are interested in protecting yourself. Again, it's on Amazon. You can get the Kindle copy, you can get the hard copy, you can even get the Audible, which is the one that I have. Probably would have been a lot easier if I just played the Audible checklist instead of doing it myself, but obviously there's copyright issues with that. So I decided against that. You know, I would rather promote this guy's work than you know, basically steal his stuff. All right, we're going to end it here. I hope you all have a great day. I'm going to go see what the weather's like and maybe go hiking. Maybe I'll, if I do end up going hiking, maybe I'll take some video of that or pictures, maybe. Just depends on the weather. But you all have a good one. Until next time, peace.